Look, the fantasy ADP market, it's crazy. Stuff's spiking, stuff's dropping, but you know what you have to do? You got to make the right decisions. You got to buy high, sell low. No, that can't be right. Other way around. We'll flip it. Here we go. Yo! What's happening, everybody? It's Too Much Fantasy Football. Brian and Brennan back to talk about, well, a little stock market craziness here within the fantasy football world. We're looking over a handful of players. Are they trending up? Are they trending down? Brennan, how are we doing today?
No, I'm doing pretty good. Just like locked eyes with my neighbor as he walked his dogs and he's looking at me and I'm looking at him awkwardly. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, you can't break eye contact. You got to hold down that neighbor dominance there.
Ear skates.
Well, today we're going to be staring down several players here. For the most part, I think we're going to agree here on these guys, but there's definitely 3 or 4 that we might have a curveball in those. So before we get started with that, what sort of news do we need to break today? What do we need to be talking about?
Well, for one, Shedeur Sanders, there's the infamous tweet, Chuck Bass was on the show. He came out saying he had told you to go 101. He did go 101 miles per hour on the freeway. And apparently this is the second ticket of speeding. So off to a hot start in Cleveland.
He's making a name for himself. He's got to do it. As a 5th round pick, you got to make sure that people know who you are.
Let me ask you right now, who starts the most games for Cleveland?
I've got Kenny Pickett right now projected to start the most games. I don't like myself when I do it that way, but come on, you have so many young players. You cannot tell me that Joe Flacco is going to be the guy that they're going to look to here.
I think Joe Flacco starts a few games, and then I think Dillon Gabriel gets a second crack. Oh, I have Dillon Gabriel starting the most games, but it's like 6. I think they're going to spread this around a lot. I think Shedeur will start a couple games too, but I have Dillon Gabriel starting the most games.
I've got him just 2 or 3 games myself. I've got Shedeur getting in there and getting a decent snap at it, but it's all over the place. Either way, the projections for the Browns for me, it's not looking good. They're bottom tier in most of their positions. What else do we have here? Looks like Jordan Addison. We've got a court date set, July 15th. We'll know a little bit more. ADP is already starting to move just a little bit, folks. So if you are on for Addison this year, I'd probably hit the brakes on drafting him just a little bit more until we know some more information here. But I mean, if he gets, I think the max is like 2-3 games is what we're looking at. Best ball, anyways. I mean, you're not completely out on him just with a 3-game miss, right?
No, for best ball purposes, no. If it's a 3-game, like he's going like around like ADP of like 80, somewhere around there, pretty late. Like it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't affect Justin Jefferson anyway. Like, I mean, in theory, like if it gives Naylor another opportunity to get a crack at a couple games, and let's just say Naylor does really well, like now you're in this predicament of like, well, they have Naylor, they have JJ, they have Jordan Addison. They just took a guy in the 3rd round too, or 4th round, if I'm not mistaken, from Maryland. And then there's TJ Hawkinson. So there's just so many mouths to feed.
Yeah, JJ definitely has his work cut out for him. Just as far as spreading the ball around this year, I'm very pro McCarthy this year. I'm excited to see what he's got rocking and rolling. What else do we have? Anything else pressing big time?
Not pressing, but Travis Hunter signed his contract fully guaranteed, $46 million, I believe, with a $30 million signing bonus. So kudos to him, man. He deserves it. So
that is something you want to make sure you prioritize. Signing your 1st-round picks, Cincinnati. Take note.
And the only thing I see, we talked about like the Steelers are in the market for a wide receiver. So like obviously the inkling of Keenan Allen is being discussed. Kind of makes sense. Because right now it's Calvin Austin, the 2, Roman Wilson's the wide receiver 3. Could you name their other 4, 5, and 6 wide receivers?
Robert Woods is on the team.
Right.
I always forget that. But it was like a $1.2 million contract.
If
they can find other guys to put on the roster, he could be a cut candidate. Well, yeah, Steelers. I don't know. I thought I'd be more excited for the team when we finally got Rodgers to sign, but ever since he signed, it's like I just still don't want to talk about him at all.
Yeah,
and then the
last bit of news is Rashee Rice is going to be good to go for training camp. So
Yep, talking about those torn ACLs. Rashee Rice is looking good, and Christian Watson running routes, everybody. Oh, man, I am very optimistic here, folks. But even if so, he tore that ACL so late. That's no chance. No chance we're going to get him really into the fantasy regular season at least.
It is June 23rd, and Brian is still mentioning Christian Watson.
Look, someone has to. Someone has to. He's hitting
Yeah.
waiver wires in some of my dynasty leagues, and I mean, now that he's IR eligible on the sleeper platform, I have picked him up so I can put him on there.
You blow all your fab on him just to make sure you got him?
No,
Oh, okay.
just like half. Just like half. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine, folks. But let's get into these stocks, these fantasy stocks, whatever cool trending name we should have picked out and gotten for this. But we're gonna be going through a handful of these players. Brennan's got some, I've got some, and just kind of giving our take on them, talking about where they are in ADP, whether we're a little higher on them, whether we're a little lower on these guys. Who do you have for us first?
So I try to do this breaking up, like kind of like picks 1 to 20, 20 to 40, just kind of give an idea of like, it's, general consensus for these guys. But my first player, it's Devon Achane. Like he's currently going as what,
RB7 on underdog.
RB7. So that will be your first RB, and I don't feel comfortable with him as my first RB. And I owned him last year. I liked him a lot last year. I was really in on Devon Achane. Now, for whatever reason, I'm out. His workload was so high last year. I like the targets, even the rushing attempts, everything was just so high. Where are you at with Devon Achane?
I'm actually digging him. I'm digging him. He would be your RB1 in most situations as far as drafts go. But going as the RB7, he's also going at ADP about pick 17. So that's early to mid second round. So even if he is your RB1, you have a stud at wide receiver. And I think that's kind of what makes the difference between one of the running backs that I have picked here is you're not having to necessarily take him as your first overall or your first round pick, but just your first running back. So I am in on Achane. We saw him get more targets than anybody's seen since David Johnson's 2016 season. Now, I think those things are impressive. Obviously, if you listen to our running back 2010s draft, Brennan doesn't think that's that impressive. He likes the likes of Lamar Miller over that, but
Okay,
that's
yes, you caught me.
But Achane, I don't mind. It's the suppressed ADP as far as all the wide receivers that are going above him that really helps me fall more in line with taking that pick of Achane.
I think I sent you a picture like for like a redraft nightmare because it's like I went Puka and then I went Devon Achane. I said this would be my nightmare if this was a real redraft league, like because it's the highs are so high, but man, those lows are gonna really kill you. And that is a first place team or a last place team off those first two picks.
The hard thing was too coming into the league, Devon Achane, he's not a big guy, so like it was really just the Dolphins where he fit so perfectly. But there was so much talk of like, can he withstand this kind of workload? Is he going to hold up? Little did we know the reason that he really tanked last year when he did was not because he got hurt, but because his quarterback got hurt. When you are taking that many snaps out wide as a wide receiver and catching the ball, you're going to need your quarterback to be able to complete it to you. So there is that extra risk baked in, but that ceiling is incredible for him.
Yeah, I think for a full point PPR league, I'm like it's a no brainer. But at half point, I think I would trend to taking like Jacobs and Taylor before him, and then Devon Achane. I think my like where I have to make a hard stop is before Bucky. I think I have to take him before Bucky. I just trust the workload for Achane to be a little bit higher than Bucky. Not saying Bucky's bad, but I just like Achane just a little bit more.
Same.
And I think with Achane too, like it comes down to like where he's going. Like I think like would you rather have Achane or would you rather have Brock Bowers?
I mean, in a vacuum, I'd rather have Brock Bowers, but just like building a roster and the way I go about it, taking a tight end early in the second round isn't traditionally the route I go.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you, but I think for me it's kind of tough because like I'm starting to lean towards Brock Bowers just a little bit more. So it's where I'm like, oof.
Well, as we're talking about the first RB you'd have to take here, and just this early RB7 is where Achane's looking right now. Let's segue that into one of my players here. Interesting conversation this could turn into, but Ashton Jeanty. Going as RB5, pick 10 overall right now in Underdog's ADP. That is going to be your not only your first running back you're going to have on your team, but your first player you're going to have on your team. So, not that I'm afraid of rookies. I love me a good rookie, some rookie action. I have no problem like leaning into rookie running backs being there in the top 5, top 10, top 15, whatever it be. But recently, there's an athletic report that came out saying that the Raiders aren't going to want to necessarily lean on Jeanty 100%. They don't want to drive him into the ground his rookie year. Raheem Mostert, I guess, will be spelling him just a little bit. He will be working in on those third down plays, as well as McCormick being in the mix as well. So he has the physical, like the capabilities. We saw him on the tape. That's what pushed him so high up there on the board and what got him drafted so high. But could we see a slower start? Like Bijan, his first year, I think it was like 16, maybe 15 touches is all he got his first game overall. And if he has that slower start to it, the first 3, 4, 6 games, I don't think he's going to pay dividends having you spent what you did early in the first round. So I guess that's just kind of my fear. I'd much rather take, I think, Achane over Jeanty because of the ADP discrepancy. Like, I would rather have Malik Neighbors and Devon Achane than Ashton Jeanty and Lad McConkey.
Interesting. I think for me, and I think it depends on the league format too for him, but also like
For sure.
I think like I think most people play like half point, and so for me, like after pick 106, after both Gibbs, Bijan, and Saquon, and then the 3 wide receivers of CD, Jamar, and Justin, I think it's open debate for who goes at 107. Like for me, it's probably CMC then Jeanty in that order, and so like I just think high draft capital pick. We saw him play his over under yardage in Boise was just nuts. Like I remember the prop lines being 180 was the prop line for him. Like it's just the anomaly is just so crazy with him. And I can understand like the hesitancy towards like the rookie running back, but for me it's just like what does I'm sorry, like I'm drawing a blank on his name. What does the head coach for Seattle like
Pete
love
Carroll.
to do? Pete Carroll. What does he love to do? Loves to run the ball.
He's also got Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly's a different cat compared to what Pete Carroll's typically had.
That's great. I know for a fact that Pete Carroll loves to pound the rock, and like I definitely expect to see McCormick out there. I expect to see Mostert out there to definitely take some snaps from it. But like at the end of the day, like I expect at the end of the year, Ashton Jeanty to have like a 70% snap share of this offense.
And funny enough that it's Mostert because Mostert was there with Achane in his rookie season.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, Achane didn't have the draft pedigree that Jeanty has, but
yeah,
I actually can't say that Achane was bona fide faster because Mostert is an incredibly fast running back.
Mostert is very fast.
But like we saw him, that was the season with his 16 touchdowns, I believe.
Yeah, he was like an anomaly for it. It was crazy.
We can see these two kind of work in there like that. And if he takes close to 10 touchdowns out of the running game, then, Jeanty's ceiling is going to be capped just a bit more than I feel like I want to have there in the first round. Like you say, CMC's going just before Jeanty. I have such an easier time smashing that button.
Yeah, I'm for sure taking CMC before Jeanty, but like after that, for like half point purposes, like I'm having a hard time like looking at the like Malik Neighbors, Puka, Amon Ra, and then there's Jeanty. I just feel like
yes.
It's just like I think for me it's just so tough because like I think for most of my home leagues everyone's just running back hungry, and I know that if I don't do it now it's going to be gone and I'm going to be left with something I really don't want to be picking. So you also know your league too, and that's what it is for me.
Hard part not to focus on our leagues here too, but we've got a keeper. We're a keeper redraft league as well, so there's always that baked in. Like, oh my gosh, I may not want to take Jeanty as early as I'm going to, but if I want to keep him for multiple years, I've got to pay up on him. And I did that with Bijan. He didn't pay off his draft capital in that first year, but I'm still able to keep him. So I guess maybe it does play off.
Yeah, I was in a league where Bijan went 101 his rookie year, so that was quite very interesting.
Super Flex League 103.
Oh boy, not a super flex.
Look, we have more running backs go in a super flex league than quarterbacks in their first round. Granted, it's keeper, so usually some quarterbacks are kept, but running backs are it's something about the August fan. The people that are coming back just in time for their draft, like they love themselves some running backs, and after last season, you can't argue too much with it.
Yeah. No, I think it's just a matter of like what pick your poison. And for me, it's like I think Ashton Jeanty at like 107, 108 is probably for me over like Malik Neighbors and Puka.
He's just a bit farther down for me. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'd rather have the combo of what the wide receiver we can get with Achane. But I'm not saying it's a bad pick, and I'm not saying I haven't clicked it there in best ball. I mean, we've done several already with him as our first round pick.
Yeah.
All right, give me your next guy. Who are we talking about next?
My next guy is someone who's entering his second year in the league. Had a, I guess you can say, disappointment just because the other counterparts in this draft class was just light years ahead of him via stats. But it's Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, for me, he is going to be your wide receiver one. I mean, maybe wide receiver two in most leagues. But again, like the stats weren't bad. They were actually very similar towards his father: 60 receptions, 885 yards, and 8 touchdowns. For me, what makes me a little bit more in on him is what the team has discussed. Like, Trey McBride was like, yeah, we're going to use a lot more motion. It's like, wow, welcome to the 21st century, Arizona. That's like when I heard that, I was like, okay, so they're actually going to use these guys and move them around a lot instead of just being still. And I think that's going to benefit towards Kyler throwing the ball a little bit more. I know he wants to run a little bit more, but like, I just think that, his rookie year, I see 885 yards, 8 touchdowns. I'm like, that's great. I mean, I expect that to be an improvement. So I expect him to have over 1,000 yards, maybe close to the same amount of touchdowns. But like, I'm kind of in on Marvin right now. My stock's a little bit up on him.
The unfortunate part is I feel like the masses are as well on the same page with you because the ADP is creeping up. Before, if you like, right around the draft time, we were talking about him. We are getting around wide receiver 19-ish. It was a lot more appealing. The wide receiver 15. Now we're in that realm of like he really does have to take that next step forward. He can't just come back in and just build upon his last year. He has to break out at this point, coming in at wide receiver 15. And when I say I'm down on him, it's not much. It's really not a whole lot here because he's going in the same breath as guys like Tyreek Hill, Terry McLaurin, JSN, Devonta Adams. All of those guys have question marks. There's an argument to be made for and against on all 6 of those players. So
Yeah.
I think it's just the commitment. You are really saying, hey, I believe in this offense, and I think they're going to take a step forward, despite them just now realizing that motion needs to be a part of the offense. It is a defensive-minded head coach, so I don't know how much pushing of the offensive coordinator really get him to step up is happening. So I don't know. I'm leaning back into the Cardinals this year. I want to like them, but then when you look at their matchups this year, their win totals, stuff like that, it's not pretty. So unless they're going to be playing from behind and just throwing the hell out of the ball, it could be an uphill battle for him.
So how nervous would you be if he was your wide receiver one on your redraft team?
Pretty nervous as my wide receiver one.
All right.
At that point, you probably would have had to have taken a running back and then a tight end.
Or back-to-back running backs.
Or back-to-back running backs, yeah, something to that nature, getting him in the third round. But I'm gonna be hammering wide receivers after that for 4-ish picks just to make sure that I clean up.
Yeah, so for me, like he's going around, like you said, Terry, Tyreek, Mike, and like I think the only guy where like I draw hesitancy, where like if it's between him and Marvin, it's probably Garrett Wilson. Like that's where I'd probably have the tough standing points. Like, do I take Garrett Wilson or do I take Marvin Harrison Jr.? And that point, it's like you're putting your faith also in Justin Fields,
which is not always a winning bet there, folks. Yep. That, man, we could do a whole episode just on the Jets. It's going to be so intriguing to see how the season plays out, how just the play calling works, how just this team is just rolled out there because the defense is good. The defense is still good. So they shouldn't be in the worst situations, but oh man, let's get away from the Jets. Marvin Harrison, though, I'm clicking the button, but I'm a bit down on him from where he's at. I wish I could get him just a little lower.
All right, fair enough.
But I mean, can we not honestly say that about every fantasy player? Could I just get him a little lower, please?
Yeah, just like I just need to see the ADP, and I need to see it be a little bit lower than that.
Absolutely. Well, we're in the same breath, so I'm just going to toss this guy out there. Tyreek Hill, wide receiver 16. He's going 2 picks behind Marvin Harrison. another guy. You can't have him as your wide receiver one. You cannot go into the third round and be like, "Ooh, boom! There's an auto select." That is fear inducing. Going CMC one, coming back with a Devon Achane and his all the injury fears with him and running back two, and then
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill. I couldn't do it. But are we overreacting on Tyreek Hill? Because I think I'm higher than wide receiver 16 on him. I think I'm willing to pay. Like I think you're getting him at a discount right now, and I'm willing to do it.
Yeah, it's so for me, I have him as a wide receiver 17. I mean, I look back at his stats last year. I mean, they're like obviously he went as like the second pick in the most drafts, sometimes first, even just because like it's Tyreek Hill, it's Cheetah. 81 receptions, under 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. Obviously, he missed some games. Obviously, Tua not being there. So this comes. It's just a multitude of factor of things with the Dolphins. So here's Devon Achane, who is getting all these dump offs, and it's very quick for Easy to just to look to him and he can go. And there's John Smith, who's still there on the team. Like it's coming to a point where like is Tyreek Hill taking the backseat to this team because like he is over 30. He's 31. Like speed does die out at a certain point.
Even if
And
his
for
speed
me,
dies out, though, then he just becomes really fast as opposed to the fastest. I don't know. He feels like one of those players that might hold on to it just a bit longer. The same reason we have Devonta Adams, still going as a wide receiver too. He shouldn't be at his age. He absolutely shouldn't be. But he kind of is. So Tyreek Hill, I don't think he's lost it. Just what I watched and some of the metrics I've kind of combed through, I don't believe that he's lost. I think it was purely the team, the play calling and how that was set up, and the years prior to this it worked. So I'm willing to lean back into that, take that bet because if he, I mean, come on, we could get it still a top six finish from him easily.
yeah, the top six finish like if he finishes like a top 10 wide receiver, I would not be shocked at all. But like I mean, like look at his previous years. I mean, 2023 number two, 2022 number two, 6, 2, the 29 and 2019 because he missed some games, and then 1, 4, 14. Like and then last year it was 21. But there's a multitude of factors. But it's like again, like you're leaving your trust into Tua. Like I'm not saying Tua is
He
this like injury prone person, but like concussions, like that's kind of scary. Like at the end of the day,
and he came out and promised though he was going to be good to go this year. No more getting hurt.
yeah.
And
Okay.
Zach Wilson, quarterback, got signed in free agency. Come to find out, he's a little Polynesian. He's got a little Polynesian in him, so he should be able to just simply plug right in for Tua. Pull off. I heard he's throwing left-handed just to get the practice in.
Yeah, this
No,
all scares me. This all very much scares me. I I think if he like again, like when you come down to it, right? There's a chance that like when you get down to like wide receivers like 15 to 20, there is a good chance that they could be your wide receiver one just because you know how the draft falls and everything else like that. So out of Marvin, Terry, Tyreek, Mike Evans, Zay Flowers, and DK, I'll throw DK in there. Who would you want as your wide receiver one? Who out of your chance out of that has the best chance to be like the number
Tyreek.
one? So you're saying Tyreek out of all of those?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. DK Metcalf. You said I'm cooling on him. Who else you say?
There's Mike Evans,
Yeah, I'll take.
there's Terry, and then I think Zay Flowers is in there for mine as well.
Yeah, I think it's Tyreek Hill for me.
Okay.
Mike Evans would probably be the close second,
All right.
but Terry McLaurin, I'm kind of on. He doesn't give me wide receiver one vibes.
Fair enough.
Alrighty, who you got next? Oh, I mean, you just brought him up, I think.
Yeah, I did. My next guy I brought up is Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is currently, I mean, he's ranked as my wide receiver 19. His ADP, I believe, is right around the 50s, late 60s, or early 60s.
52 is where he's going,
Yes.
wide receiver 30.
He was taken as most people's wide receivers too, with a lot of high upside. You were really expecting a jump from him because, like, his rookie year, he looked really good. He was wide receiver 30 at the end of it for half point PPR. He actually did finish as a wide receiver too. He was number 24. I finished right there at the end of the dot. But I think you and I both can say we're a little disappointed in him and how
Yeah.
it ended.
When
Um,
Lamar throws 41 touchdowns, you want a little bit more from Zay Flowers.
yeah. I mean, Rashod Bateman getting 9 touchdowns, and then you see Zay
Stupid.
Flowers with 4. Uh, so
Stupid.
we talk about touchdown regression. Is there like more? Is there regression for him to get more touchdowns this year? Like, how comfortable are you with him being your wide receiver too?
I'm not. I'm really not.
Okay.
He is a guy I want as my wide receiver three as a flex play for me, unless I went like heavy RB, maybe some tight end quarterback early, and I'm really having to fill in some pieces because I think he could be a good wide receiver too, depending on the build. You know, if you've got Tyreek Hill as your one, maybe Zay Flowers is going to be a good two, just because he gives you a little bit more stability. Maybe not as many boom bust weeks, but he should fill in a little bit more consistently because that's going to be how the game you're going to be looking at. But just at who he's going next to, I'll take the chance on George Pickens, who's going just before him. Cortland Sutton, I like, who's going just before him. Jalen Waddle. I just kind of talked a little bit about the Dolphins, the anomaly
I'm a
that,
big
that
Waddle
was
fan,
last
so I'm
year.
okay with that.
So give me some Waddle. I'll take Calvin Ridley, that's going behind him. Then when you get to like the Roma Dunzeys, Jordan Addison, Juwan Jennings, yeah, now I'm insulting Flowers, and Flowers needs to go ahead of those guys. But I even if you pull back Bateman, pull back 3 touchdowns from him, just give him 6 because you know he does have that big playability, and so I still think he's going to have a handful. Mark Andrews, I believe he caught 90% of his red zone red zone attempts last year that went to him. He caught 90% of them. He's never caught that before. I think he's closer to like a 30-40% guy. So you pull those touchdowns away, Lamar's probably going to throw. I've got him close to like 32 touchdowns opposed to the 41 that he threw last year.
Mhm.
So, you know, you reduce the touchdown margin, you pull back on some of those other guys. That still doesn't really leave much room for Zay Flowers to excel. And he's not a touchdown guy. He's not a big body touchdown man. He needs to bust free for one of those wild plays for him to really score a lot.
Yeah, for me, like I was looking through it, I'm like, okay, like he gets really good target shares for him when the games that it matters. Like, and so like for me, I think he's perfect. I would want him as my wide receiver two in a full point PPR. When it comes to half point, I'm a little bit more nervous with him just because it's like a little bit capped and everything else with the touchdowns. Like, what do you see his like ceiling is? Like wide receiver what? What if you had to say his highest of high ceilings is what for you?
I could see him giving us a wide receiver 14 season at some point. You know, him and Lamar just really sync up one year, maybe in 2-ish years. You know, he's really in his full prime. Lamar's going for that one final last run, super offensive something. But I think that's really the highest we'll ever see, and it's PPR too.
It's funny because you say 14. Like I have like my guys like so like their highest ceilings that I have them projected to be in their lows. Like so for Zay Flowers, I think the highest he could be is wide receiver 13. Like if everything goes his way, everything touchdowns, receptions, everything else like that, and then his floor is what he was last year. I think you just repeat it. It's wide receiver 24. I think at the end of the day, like no matter what, he still has a very safe workload that he'll be a wide receiver two.
I could see him returning like in half PPR. I could see him being a little closer wide receiver 30,
Yeah.
just based on some of that. And like wide receiver, we should see a little bit more points than we did last year, but not a bad player. Like a consistent player. He has a role to fill on your team most likely, but just not a lot of confidence there. I will say so. DK Metcalf's going at wide receiver 25, so 5 spots ahead of him,
Hmm.
little over a round ahead of him. Who are you more comfortable with? You still taking DK over Zay Flowers?
I'm starting to come around on DK a little bit. It's weird. Like I just think he like right because as it sits right now, the Steelers have Pat Fryermuth, Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, Robert Woods. Obviously, there's maybe talks of Keenan Allen, but at the end of the day, like
Jalen Warren.
I expect a 25% target share to DK Metcalf, and that's where I'm at. I just like if I want a guy to be the alpha, I expect DK to be the alpha of this team. He just got paid like 1-2, so
Yeah, what was it like? I saw something on him recently. But like yeah, he had over a 20% target share last year, deep depth per target, and he still has only ever finished in the top 24 points per game or PPR points per game once.
yeah.
So it's a hard one. There's definitely talent there, but him and Aaron Rodgers, is that match going to be great for us? Another running back I have is James Conner. I just feel like he's just a little disrespected. Not much, but just a little bit. I'm taking him a bit higher than where he is going. You've got him right now at RB 22. Yeah, I would take him several spots higher. I would take him. RJ Harvey's at RB20, half PPR, I think I'm taking James Conner.
Yeah, so for me, I need to fix my rankings. I have James Conner RB19 and RG Harvey at 17. I need to move RG Harvey behind Amari and Hampton right now. So James Conner to me, I could see him finishing in a realm as being like not RB1 but like RB12. So having an RB1 season, and the things that like a lot of people held over his head was like, oh, injuries and everything else like that. Like the dude played more games than Saquon. Like it's just like it's a little weird, and I get that, but like he is, when he's on the field, he's very, very good. And he does a bit of everything. Like, I mean, he doesn't like catch the ball a ton, but like he does catch the targets that are thrown to him. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't see Trey Benson having this like second year leap. We watched his tape. There's nothing to him that I was like, oh yeah, they can move on from James Conner. What did they do? They actually gave him an extension. Like, it's just one of those things where like I will be so happy if James Conner is my RB2, but I think we see these rankings right now. I can guarantee your home leagues, James Conner will probably go ahead of like where other people have him ranked. Like I think like it'll be between like James Cook or James Conner. Like
I'm taking James Conner.
Like I wouldn't be upset if anybody did that, because I just like James Conner is elite when he's on the field, and James Cook's in a situation of like, we don't know what Buffalo's doing. So yeah, I'm right there with you with that.
Yeah, Arizona over the last 2 years, they are top 2 in 10 plus yard runs and then 20 plus yard runs. So it's working even at his age. So yeah, I'm still clicking that. Well, folks, that is going to wrap up that episode. That's all we've got for you. That's all she wrote. So we got to get out of here. Again, if you did miss our 2010 running back draft, go check it out on the other channel, the Too Much Fantasy Football channel. Subscribe, like it over there. Do that here as well on the FFAN channel, where we're going to be dropping our wide receiver draft soon here, and then the quarterback draft on the other channel. Keeping you on your toes, folks, making you bounce back and forth. All the great content from the Too Much crew. If you're looking for more of us, Brennan, where can the people find you?
You can find me on X at Too Much B Milk, and then at the Fantasy Football Advice Network.
And then for me, it's the same place over there on the network or on X at @TooMuch_Brian, at TooMuchBrian everywhere else. Until next time, folks, we're getting out of here. See ya.